it's still.
So you're basically saying, so that analogy, Curtis, it can be a bit different with League because you can intentionally disadvantage yourself by playing suboptimal build, suboptimal champions, but you're always that really good pool player.
It won't be perfect.
It's a bit. You see what I'm saying? It's a bit different with League. You could justify it that way.
You can, but how? But how? But the reality is that you're still like you all of the onus is on that high-low player. We're just assuming that guy's just like a really nice guy and is not going to do any
intentionally disadvantage themselves.
Yeah.
It's a theoretical.
It's too theoretical.
World,
it's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that they're with their potential girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and
to impress them.
They start losing. And don't worry, I got this. Step out, step out of the way, and just fucking kill everyone. It's just not going to work. So I just don't. That problem I don't think has a solution.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for disaster. And then you have the other ones like learning another role or learning another champion on a second account. I mean, is there a way? I mean, flex queue?
Yeah, so maybe if they made flex queue better or something. I don't know. I don't even know how they do that.
It's still just going to be a lower stakes environment to rank. So people are just inherently not going to try as hard.
People just like ranked. People liked rank. Okay, this is League, all right? And League players. People like the feeling of progression in ranked. Doesn't even matter really what sort of elo it is. And people like killing anonymous people on the internet. Stomping.
Yeah.
That's just it.
That's just it.
That's just it. That's just the reality, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I just found that interesting. Well, I think we'll try and link maybe this in the description.
We'll link. It's an interesting thread.
It's an interesting thread. I think there's a lot more in there that you guys can dive into. There was one. I just found this funny here. You get some like these toxic comments as well. People like saying directly to Raya, instead of farming community for free ideas, do your job that you are getting paid for. Also update the announcer sound design. It is of utter piss quality.
Wow, they actually responded. Maddie responded.
They responded to that.
See, look, right, it's very communicative.
I love it. Some wholesome and toxic interactions in the same thread.
Yeah.
So, moving on. This laptop's really scuffed here. All right. So I got linked this keynote speech from Faker. So this was it's like some like tech
conference,
and he was kind of there's a part of this little speech here that I wanted to share with you, Nathan. You haven't seen this before, so I'm gonna gank you with it. And just a little segment. I found it really, really fascinating, and then we'll just kind of discuss after. So let's go ahead.
제가 프로게임을 하면서 가장 크게 배운 것 중에 하나가 저는 실패에 관한 것인 것 같아요. 저는 그냥 항상 이겨야만 했고 이제 남들과 비교해서 항상 1등이 되어야 되는 프로의 세계잖아요. 그래서 당연히 이기는 게 좋은 거고 지는 거는 나쁜 거다. 실패는 나쁜 거다라고만 생각을 했었는데 저는 프로게이머를 하면서 특히 최근에 저는 한 2, 3년 전부터 많이 배운 것 같아요. 실패라는 게 그냥 실패라는 어감 자체가 되게 부정적이잖아요. 근데 막상 생각해보면 저는 실패로부터 이렇게 성장할 수 있었고 이렇게 더 잘하게 된 것 같아요. 오히려 저는 지금이 전성기라고 느끼고 23년, 24년도 제가 올해 3주 전에 우승을 하고 왔는데 그 발판이 저는 실패가 실패라고 생각했으면 못했을 것 같아요. 그래서 지금은 그런 실패 하나하나가 모여서 저를 좀 만들었다고 생각하고 오히려 실패가 작은 성공이라고 생각해요. 실패는 성공의 어머니라는 말이 있잖아요. 저는 근데 그것보다도 실패는 오히려 성공의 일부라고 생각해요. 그래서 제가 만약에 경기를 지더라도 아 이거는 작은 성공이구나 라고 생각할 수 있게 된 것 같아요. 그게 좀 저에게 있어서 가장 큰 배움이었던 것 같고 그게 오히려 저에게 더 큰 동기가 된 것 같아요. 아 지지 않아야겠다, 더 이겨야겠다라는 생각보다는 그냥 게임을 좀 즐기고 이 순간에서 내가 실패하든 성공을 하든 이 연설에서 내가 스크립트를 준비를 안 해서 실패를 하든 성공을 하든 이거는 작은 성공이겠다라고 생각해서 저는 그런 도전 정신을 좀 많이 배운 것 같아요.
Just wanted to do that.
Wow. It's mind-blowing to see the line. Like, it's literally saying, I view failure as a small success. It's actually pretty profound. There's so much in that statement.
I like what he said as well. He said, failure, there's a quote where it's like, failure is the mother of success. But he said it's even more than that, where it's like if with every failure literally is a success. Like it's not the mother, it is success. Because he says without the failure, I wouldn't have become all these losses. I wouldn't have become the player I was. And that I wouldn't have been able to succeed in the long run. Like he had to fail to be the person he was. He had to be this end result of this amazing player and this person that is. He had to fail. It was unavoidable. And like you said there, now he can just go into every game and just enjoy the game, because even if he loses, it's still in his mind a success because he's able to, you know, learn and get knowledge from each of these failures. Like that is. I feel like that is the end goal.
If you can get to that,
if you can get to that point, that's like you've transcended. You're like fully enlightened. You're like the most competitive, enlightened individual at that point, right? You've completely removed all of the pain and negative connotation around losing, and you've just completely not only removed it, you've actually reversed it. And now every time you're losing,
it's positive.
It's
rather
a positive.
Than negative.
Like that, you're not even making it a neutral. You know how we say like stoicism is more like. You're not really... Stoicism is kind of the middle ground, right? Like, stoicism being stoic is more like, okay, I lost, this sucks. So, like, let's just own it. Like, this is
the reality.
I'm just gonna suffer through it and suck it up, right? That's stoicism. Or this is the next level. This is like, again, transcending stoicism, where it's like, okay, I had to be in this shit situation.
Well, it's not sucking it up. Stoicism is more about accepting things for like what's
accepting
happening
for what it is.
Yeah.
But you're not turning it into a positive. It's more you're neutralizing negativity, right? Stoicism is more like, a neutral. I would say for me anyway, the way I interpret stoicism in my life, it's like this thing's happening to me. Okay, what's in my control? What's not in my control? I'm going to focus on what's in my control and then do what I can. Now, I don't come out of that being like literally enjoying that situation. It's more like I can handle it. I have a handle on it. But I feel like this is, again, for at least in my interpretation, I don't want to impose that on you, Nathan, but my interpretation is more the way, what I take from Faker's speech is like, again, and this is like an enlightened view of failure. You're literally flipping it from a negative, not only to a neutral, to literally a positive, in a positive light. I have to lose. Because in order for me to evolve, I have to lose to be a better version of myself. So I just think that I get it. This is a professional, right? This is an absolute professional of their craft. This is the elite of the elite of the elite. We're not even talking in esports. I would argue that Faker is probably one of the most elite competitors in the entire world across all sports, right? Up there with like
mindset-wise,
Roger Federer's and the Nadals and the Djokovic's and the Michael Jordans, whatever, the Brady's, whatever. This is like the elite of the elite of the elite, mindset-wise, and dedication to improvement in their craft. And the reality is that if we can even take 1% of this energy, if we can take 1% of this mindset, you know what? Instead of just losing my mind over losing first scuttle or getting first blooded or my jungler not ganking, not fixing this wave, if I can even have 1% of that, be like, you know what? I wonder what I can learn from that. Maybe this failure of me dying to this gank
is a good thing.
Maybe it's a good thing. Yeah. Maybe I can actually learn from this and not die to it next time. You know, I just think that this is incredibly motivating. And I will say this very selfishly. I kind of want Faker to retire in a weird way, so he writes his book and shares his encyclopedic knowledge, you know, from his competitive journey. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the Faker book. I want to get it signed, autographed, and I want to learn his mindset, because that is the key to success. I feel like his success is his mindset.
I think just my personal philosophy, just studying a lot of competitors, and you know, Faker said that he was on the extreme before, where he'll get really emotional, upset, view failure as negative. I feel like you have to go through that to get to here. There's no way you can't just be born. I'm like some like, you know, climbing the ranks 15, 16. I hear this, Nathan is going to talking about it, and I can just have this mindset tomorrow and it'll work. It actually won't work for you, I don't think, because you need to come from the other end of viewing failure as negative and, you know, smashing your head against the wall and just absolutely just mental booming to appreciate this sort of mindset philosophy.
Or kind of realize that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You realize that it's unsustainable, right? Because I think what you're trying to articulate there, Nathan, is passion and competitive spirit, right?
He clearly cares. I can see it get misinterpreted, especially, you know, thinking about the players that we work with, or up and coming, like the 16, 17, you know, 18-year-olds. Is like a big part of their success and what we saw is that they hated losing. more than they won, and that drove them, and that is a powerful motivator. It works. We've seen it work. Faker was that. It worked for him. But then the next levels, and as you get older and, you know, mature in career and realize that, yeah, you know, making these failures as negatives is just, it's not going to be productive.
Well, I think what you just articulated there, Nathan, was really, really insightful, actually, because if you think about it, let's take two individuals, okay? Both of them, let's say both of them have this very, really, again, let's say Faker-esque mentality, where it's a loss is a loss, I'm going to focus on what I can improve on, and I'm going to view it as a positive. There are two ways to get there. You can get there, like you said, through the trial of the flames and, you know, all that competitive passion and losing your mind and being that hyper-competitive individual and really giving a shit and really wanting to win, but then you realize that wasn't sustainable when you kind of grind through that and you get to this point. Or you can be that individual that never really gave a shit and you're actually in that position where you're able to kind of not care much about the losses because you never gave a shit about the losses. You know what I mean? Like, you never actually cared. You just weren't a competitive individual. You never had that crazy passion and competitive drive to win. So that's what you're saying. What you're saying is that, like, you know, if you haven't got that competitive spirit, you haven't got that, like, fire, you never were going to make it anyway.
Yeah, like that person's not going to have any success.
They're not going to have any success anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So, like, they can both look like they have the same mindset, but
the results will be completely different.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And he said as well, specifically as a pro gamer. Now, people, sports experts here, I want you guys to challenge what I'm about to say here, but I think the way being a pro player in League of Legends, Scrim solo queue, you play more games with stakes than any other. This is a wild statement potentially, but I think I'm pretty confident it's true from my limited understanding of the sports world and every sport out there. League of Legends pro player loses more games with stakes than any other craft or sport in the world. Is this a true statement?
I would say, like, any sort of, like, chess or poker, you're going to lose more because the games are faster. That's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
poker and chess are pretty close,
and
man.
poker fast.
You can, like, when I watch Magnus Carlsen stream, like, he's playing, like, 60-second blitz chess. That guy's, like, he's winning, but there's the potential to lose once a minute in chess. But the stakes are the same, technically. You still gain LP, so I think chess kind of beats it there a little bit. But
Yeah.
And poker hands.
Poker, you lose multiple times a game because you play hands.
Okay, so I guess poker and chess.
So poker and chess and League and a lot of other probably esports, right, are like in that realm.
Because with like team traditional sports like basketball, and like obviously there's only one match. You know, you could do like scrimmage matches and stuff for some stakes, but it's too slow, right? You're not going to get the volume.
Well, that's not how they practice in traditional sports.
Yeah, it's just a different way you
generally
practice.
speaking,
Like,
yeah.
because like losing scrims, like the amount of like losing scrims is serious with like league pro games. Even though it really shouldn't be, there is stakes because your team's like mental mindset is like attached to. I mean, it shouldn't be, right? But that's what the way it is. It's attached to.
Well, it has to be. I mean, you scrim other teams for a
Yeah,
reason,
you're
right?
seeing your skill level.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And same with solo queue. You know, you have to perform in those. Otherwise, you know, if you start performing poorly in scrims, you can get removed from the team.
There's also the argument, right, with like the 1 minute chess or the poker hands. Like, you're not committing as much time, so it's not as meaningful. But if you spend the time to sit at the computer, queue up, do the draft, play the game, and then lose, like, you are.
There's a bigger investment.
Yeah, it is
right?
a bigger investment.
I think it's different. I'm trying to get it's like sort of different. Like losing in League is different from anything else. Is sort of what I'm trying to get at. Whether it's
Well, it's a combination of like quality and quantity of the losses. I think is what makes it unique.
yeah, you're super invested when you lose a League game. You put it all in, but like a poker hand, yeah, it's not. I feel like, you know,
I don't know. I played a bit of chess, but I can't really comment as much.
Poker
as
players
Well-
and chess players, let us know.
Well, I would say one could make the argument that poker is way more, you know,
Stakes.
way more.
Money.
It's literally money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, I see your point.
Basically, what I'm saying is you learn a lot about losing a League because people don't run around with. I don't know what the win rates are in chess, Charles, but you know, in solo,
Let me move closer to the mic. By
You
the
know,
way.
so-
That's a
Solo
good
queue.
point. Yeah, like the best chess players, they do win a lot.
They win a lot, right?
Again,
and it's full in your control.
Probably more than the best solo queue players. Like the players top of Challenger, like still 55%.
Yeah,
win
Faker
rate.
would have like a 50-something% win rate,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. Well, I think a better way to put it is like to be good at League of Legends, you have to know how to lose. Faker knows how to lose, right?
But I think that's in all sports. You got to learn how to. You got to know how to lose.
Oh,
at all.
absolutely. But I'm saying is you learn real quick with League, and it's like the extreme with League.
Yeah, well, like I would agree. I think that League is probably one of those games that pushes the more stage 4 oriented issues the most. But the main difference, right, again, just comparing chess to the League, is that chess is all on you.
has
It's
1v1,
1v1,
yeah.
right? And so there is not that, there's less mental baggage. It's like, well, if I made a mistake, I can't blame anyone. There's no one griefing my chess game, right? It's just me.
Maybe let's correct this. Now, get into the end here. Team sport. You lose in a team setting.
You move on to school.
All right, moving on to our school community post of the week. This one here comes from Keaton. The title of this post is "Wanting to expand my champion pool but finding no success." Hey everyone, I'm a Diamond 4 Shyvana one trick. Recently she has been nerfed several times in a row, and I felt her being much harder to play. The higher I go on the ladder due to the enemy junglers knowing what to do against a champ like her. Not to mention she's not even getting reworked next year, and I just see her getting more and more outdated. Anyways, I didn't plan on dropping Shyvana, but I also want to be able to play other champs. The issue is, the game just doesn't feel as open to me as it does on Shyvana. I have played many other champions in the jungle on Smurfs, especially ones like her, like Gwen, and it just doesn't feel as fun. It is causing me to lose my confidence because I don't click with the other champs as much as I have with Shyvana. The only one I've found success with is Zac, but he is such a different playstyle than Shyvana, since you go from a champion that can only deal damage to a champion that can only really CC. And because of this, I often struggle to win games even with massive leads on Zac. Are there any champions similar to Shyvana? Do you recommend trying to play a different archetype of jungler than Shyvana? I know Coach Kurtz released a video about how to learn a new champion, but how do you find one?
So I know you're the jungle master here, Nathan, but I'm not going to say anything about junglers. I'm just going to say at a
big
high
picture.
level.
I was going to answer this question big picture as well.
Just like I find a fascinating thing here, right? You can read between the lines. This person's played a lot of Shyvana, right? Shit ton of Shyvana. They have a lot of Shyvana mastery, and they've enjoyed a lot. They've enjoyed their time playing Shyvana. And then, so as a result, they wouldn't have like mastery on any other champion. So they tried all these champions, right? They tried all these others, and they're like, oh, nothing is as fun as Shyvana. But in reality, they said, notice what they said. The only champ they didn't mind was Zac. Why Zac? Zac is so easy to execute. If you think about it, like you can go in and as Zac, you're going to land an E. So I'm not saying that they fell in love with Zac, but what I'm saying is that says to me, the fact that Zac was the only one that they had a moderate amount of success with, is that they're not liking all these other champs just because they don't have mastery. You know what I mean? Like
it's sort of basically saying I don't have the feeling of the level of competence as Shyvana on other champs, so I don't like any other champ. But how can you get to that point? It's
every champ is going to feel shit comparatively to your Shyvana because you're so good at Shyvana comparatively to every other champ. So this is where people get themselves into a rut when they OTP for such a long period of time, is because you're so much better at this one champion than the entire league roster. So the reality is that no matter what champion you play, it's going to feel like shit.
You're really not going to find the success you have with Shyvana for a long time.
For a long time. And even if, and this is the scary thing, is that now what you're thinking is that all these champs are not as fun as Shyvana, but you're getting tricked. If we were to go back in time and you would have mained that champ, this other champ, like say Viego, and you got told to play Shyvana, even if Shyvana was objectively strong, you wouldn't enjoy Shyvana as much as you would Viego because you just haven't got the time in. So like, I think what this person needs to wrap their head around is that, yeah, sure, you might objectively like the design and the aesthetics and the kit of Shyvana, but that's also compounded. There's another variable here, which is the amount of mastery you have in that champion. So before you can have an accurate read on what champion you don't have fun with, you need to actually develop mastery with another champion and send it. So what I would say to a lot of people who say this question is, pick a champ that you don't hate and get 70 games on it.
Just get to that point. Like, you don't have to have fun as long as you don't hate playing it.
As long as you don't hate it. Just get like 70 games on it and play 70 games on it. And you might get to the 60, 70 game mark and you're like, you know what? Still not for me. Move on. But you have to send it really to that 60, 70 game mark and give it a red hot crack before you can make any judgment calls.
Yeah, really try and figure out what does no success mean. How much time are you giving these champions?
I bet you if you looked at their
20
OTP,
games, it's like 20 games.
it'd be like 15 games. It'd be like nothing. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Just with the language, you know what I mean? Like you can kind of read between the lines there.
You can brute force that as well. If you want to just try and learn a champ with 70 games, like you don't need to play 70 straight games. You can do the 2-to-1 ratio with those 70 games, right? And try and cycle it a little bit. And yeah, it won't be that painful. Like, there's always that bit of honeymoon period at the start where it's fun, and then games like 40 to 60 might be a bit painful, but by the end, you'll have an idea of what it's actually like to learn a champ, and then it'll be easier the next time.
Exactly right. I think that's the key point. Every time you learn that next champion, it will get easier to learn the next one, right? Because you've now viewed the game through a slightly different lens.
Yeah, 'cause think about our league journey. How much of that journey is just learning champ? Okay, that's done. Next champ, learning champ. We've gone through that process ourselves so many times, and it's just natural. But yeah, that's the dark side of OTPing. I guess.
That is the
Never get
skill.
that.
One of the skills. If you want to be a long-term, reliable, solid, well-rounded player, you need to learn how to. You actually need to learn and master the process of learning champions.
Yes.
That is just part of the skill set, and it's uncomfortable, and it's hard. It sucks, but you've got to learn how to do it. That simple.
In terms of playing champions similar to Shyvana, like maybe he likes the farming style versus completely switching up to a different style. Maybe a champion that's maybe not ult reliant. Graves or Briar, these type of champions. I mean, me personally, I love early game pressure junglers, and I have fun on the whole roster. But some people, I feel, get like, okay, I play a farming jungler, I play this champion really well, but I can't replicate that success, or I might as well just play something else. I don't really have an answer. Do you have an answer for
What
that?
did you play?
Yeah.
I got some points there. Like, in terms of the farming junglers, I feel like the issue people have going from farming jungler to farming jungler is that they're so reliant on how you deal damage that you can hit the CS numbers on, like, let's say a Fiddlesticks or a Diana, same as he was hitting on Shyvana, but you just gotta not do as much damage, so you're not gonna be rewarded from it. So, I
But
mean,
you're not doing enough damage because you're saying he doesn't have enough champ mastery.
That's
on
correct.
Fiddlesticks.
He doesn't have
That's
enough champ mastery.
So then the thought in the mind would be like, well, why would I just not be playing Shyvana?
That's
now?
correct.
There's no expanding this pool doesn't make sense.
That's right. He can do a lot of the same PvE stuff correctly, but not be rewarded in the skirmishes. So, with that in mind, there actually would be a bit of a benefit to trying the early game style just to see how it feels. Just like throw himself in the deep end.
That's an option. The way I answer this question, when people ask me about champions, the question I say is, what trait is important for you to have? Like, what aspect of Shyvana's kit do you like? Do you like the fast clearing? Do you like the poke? What aspect of the kit is important to you? So when someone mains Ahri and they say, I'm an Ahri OTP and I'm sick of Ahri, what do you like about Ahri? Do you like the wave clear? Do you like the mobility? Do you like the CC? And then what we can do is then we can go down the roster and we can identify a series of champions that have those similar traits, and you just pick the one and you again filter it based on what's the most important trait for you, and then you pick the champion. That's the way I like to do it.
Yeah, for example, me, I love diving. I would always say to people in my program, it's like, if my champion can't dive level 3, I'm not playing it. That's
Great.
extreme, but like that's
Great, yeah.
sometimes
That's
my
a
mind.
trait.
That's what I was looking for. That's the trait that I was looking
Exactly.
for, right? All right, anything else to add for that one, guys? All right, we're happy with that. There you go. Hopefully that helps you, Mr. Keaton. Mailbag time. Away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. Alrighty then. Our first question here comes from someone by the name of Young God. The title of this email is Why Do People Hate Competitiveness in Games? Hello, Nathan and Curtis. I've been watching the podcast for quite a while now, and I've gotten really passionate about the perspective you offer on League of Legends and its competitive nature. There's a video I recently came across claiming to have found a supposed link between the life cycle of a game and growing competitiveness. Specifically, that with growing competitiveness, a game reaches the end of its life cycle. Now, it's only strictly about League. In fact, League is not mentioned at all, but it is a broad discussion about competitive multiplayer PvP games and thus applicable to League. I'll be curious to know your thoughts on this because I sure have mine. I'm just going to say what tipped me off in the first 5 minutes of the video was the mention of cheaters and tryhards in the same sentence as something ruining games. Apart from that, perhaps the most famous game, chess, is not mentioned at all. You will know what I mean when I say, if you simply keep chess in the back of your mind, none of the points of the video will stand up to scrutiny. I'll link the video. I understand you have if you have no interest in reacting to it. I'm not going you to watch it. It's 24 minutes long. But let me know your thoughts. Alright, so we haven't watched the video. We won't watch the video, but let's maybe watch the video and we can talk about it maybe on another thing. But I think we can understand what we're going to hear. So why do people hate competitiveness at games? So basically, it sounds like what the video is saying is that once
The game
video
gets too
games
competitive.
get too competitive, it dies. Now this is true. I've seen this a lot because, yeah, the I'd say the theory there would be that people don't have that same. People love the nostalgia of League in Season 3, Season 2 and stuff because no one knew what they were doing and it was sort of easy to sort of like pub stomp. And sort of as well, even Riot and the game developers as well, they don't like min-max and try and think about balance like that because everything's sort of like extreme. So you can have really fun, extreme experiences that are more really memorable than maybe being on the opposite end of like maybe the unbalance, right? So, and then as the game evolves, you know, things get figured out, people know how the way the game gets played. It's sort of just stale and people just sort of latch onto the nostalgia. And then people just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to find the next fun thing. I want to go, people constantly want to get back to the honeymoon phase of game life cycles, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, interesting. That's a really, really interesting point. Because I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not an expert on game design by any means, so just take what I say with a pinch of salt. But I like the way you kind of deconstructed that because if you think about League, right, use League as an example. The reason people played League for the first few seasons, and say the first 5 seasons probably, is very different to why a lot of people play League now. Right? And so you could easily see a world in which League or Riot didn't make the appropriate changes to keep the game fresh and to give people continued reasons to put time into the game. So every season you're playing League, even throughout the season, the game is evolving. Right? Because if you think about it, the player base is always evolving no matter what. Whether you make changes to the game, right? Whether the game gets patched, players are getting better. And so if the game doesn't keep up in terms of its complexity or doesn't keep up in terms of like the freshness and the reasons to play the game, well, what's going to happen? Well, you're just going to...
Everything gets solved,
Everything
and
gets
then
solved and
the game's played the same way all the time. So I guess what you're getting at here, Curtis, is that Riot, I guess you could say, is built different because, and there's really no other game in history, competitive game in history that's been patched as much as League. That's a fact. That's a fact. So League is built different. It can't actually be compared to most other video games because the developers don't put that time and effort into it. Also, we always say that the rank system is the best of any competitive game in League as well, so that's got that going for it. And same with chess, right? Like chess has the MMR system that stood the test of time, right?
Well, I think chess is different because I think the game...
Yeah, because that's the same game. Yeah, chess has to be different, right? Because it's the same game exactly. It hasn't been patched.
Well, chess is
So how is chess different?
Well, chess is different in the sense that it has like infinite complexity, and right, it's like
I guess the game's just perfect.
the game's like a perfect competitive game because as someone, you can't solve chess because whenever there's a move, there's like probably I'm assuming Charles, you know chess good, but I'm assuming there's a counter move, and is that I'm assuming I'm like an idiot here. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of games of chess that are solved, right? Where it's
Right.
solved state
Yep.
for the majority of the game. But I feel like a different way to put this is that League of Legends just got over the hump. There's a lot of games that don't make it over the hump.
That's
And-
right.
And I don't know my chess history perfectly, but chess wasn't always like this. Chess has been changed. There have been rules that have been introduced. It's not been the same since I think 1200 when they made it or whatever. I probably got that
Because
way off.
It gets
No
patched every 100 years.
yeah, no, it would have been patched. Right?
Yeah.
Modern chess is modern chess,
Yeah.
right? So what I think they've got is they've got chess to a state where it's got over that hump, and now they don't really have to do a whole lot. They are actually talking about changing the rules, by the way, slightly for competitive chess, so it's not off the table. But League of Legends, like, there was a time where, like, Season 7, Season 8, people would harken back to, like, Season 3, Season 4, and say, well, that was the peak of League. I was actually doing that. I
Yeah.
thought, like, League was so good Season 3. Like, I loved it. But now, it's like, that was not even a thought in my mind, because we've got over the hump. They've set the precedent with constant patches. They've made, like, actual meaningful gameplay decisions and not gimmicks. That's what a lot of games try and do, is they try and gimmick their way through the system. World of Warcraft. But League of Legends is a really, really good way of doing it. And I just think that no matter what they do from here on out, I just think it's not going anywhere, to be honest.
It's also, you've got to talk about the format of the game. Like, okay, if Riot here was working with an MMO, it would fail. MOBA is being that genre. MOBA is like the idea of 5 lanes, you know, gold experience, Nexus towers, and like roles, and the genre itself can stand the test of time in terms of a competitive game. That's I think the crux of it as well.
Many MOBAs have died, though.
They have died, but that's because they just weren't as good as League, right? It's just that simple.
Well, yeah, but that's no justification, right? Other movies died for many reasons, right? So they don't
You have Heroes of the Storm.
think a large reason as to why League has survived is because of the amount of effort Riot puts towards it. It's their flagship game. Like, the reason here is the Storm died is because Blizzard have too much stuff on their plate, right? They just didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, and it's very multifaceted, right? You have the rank system in League, for the most part, for matchmaking, that whole thing is really good. You have Riot are constantly updating the game and making changes.
And listen to the community.
And listening to the community, but also as well, like their champ designs are just really good, like just in general.
It's
like
a better
just-
product, right?
Yeah, fun champions. I mean, everything. Like, it's not just any one thing, right? It's the
No.
combination of many small things.
I think a big part is that they set the precedent that there's patches no matter what. I think is an important thing. So it's not like when a patch comes in, it's like they're in oh shit mode, we have to change something, everyone's getting bored. It's like we patch anyway. Even if the game's in a great spot, we're still going to patch. So no one's surprised. I think that's a big part of it.
That's true. That's actually a really good point.
Okay, so going back to sort of the initial question, sort of talking about why League hasn't died, but I guess it sort of comes into this, is why do people hate competitiveness in games? Video games specifically.
But I want to frame this a different way, right? Because if you think about games. It's it's an umbrella term, right? Games could be anything from a game of Uno on this paper, a card game, to a game of chess, to a game of Fortnite or whatever. It could be anything. I mean, games could be literally, or we could be literally an IRL game. We could play hide and seek. We could go play, tag or some shit. We could play paintball. These are all games, right? Like, they're all games if you think about it.
Yes.
So games, this all-encompassing term. Now, if we would again put some very loose categories, you have games that are competitive, you have games that are maybe less so. And I would say maybe it's on a scale. You have games that are somewhat competitive, and you have games that are ultra competitive, and you have games that maybe are very little competitive aspect. Like,
using your terminology of games, if we think about humans in history, the answer to why do people hate competitiveness in games, they don't. They love competitiveness in games. That's why League's like one of the biggest
games are actually really
embedded in our culture.
There's a guy in my Discord. He works in the gaming. He works as like a game developer, and he knows a lot about like the actual underlying psychology aspect of games. And again, I'm going to paraphrase, but he says something along the lines of like playing the actual act of playing a game is incredibly human. It's like something that we've done for thousands of years. Now, obviously the games have changed, right? Whether you have really old school games, back then, like even like in Italy, like bocce and in France, those are like really old. These are probably super old games. They'll probably be throwing rocks on the ground, right? Like for thousands of years, I'm assuming. But it's because it allows us to enter this like free flow state where we enter this childlike free flow state where we're detached from the everyday kind of mundane humdrum survival, food, shelter, all that shit. So once you've got that sorted, once you get a lot of that stuff out of the way, like I've got a shelter over my head, I can feed myself, I've got water, I've got a bed, okay, well then either, playing games is a very natural kind of progression. It's like a very human part of our existence.
I guess the definition of a game is like playing within a rule set. So it's completely fair. I think that's why we love it as well, because it's just this, it doesn't change. Like this is the rules, but the general life doesn't really follow, rules. I mean, it does, sort of does, but people can cheat and all that, but you can't cheat in the game. The rules are the rules. I mean, you can't.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why I quit Counter-Strike. One of the big reasons, like cheating
you
in
feel
Counter-Strike.
like you weren't playing.
I wasn't playing a fair game.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what ruined PUBG.
Yeah.
Right? PUBG got ruined with cheaters. I mean, that's why cheating is so like something that we take for granted in League is that cheating is not really a thing.
No.
I mean, you can have scripts, but it doesn't really change. It is an advantage, I guess, for skill shots, but
you can still win against cheaters.
you can still easily win against cheaters.
There's so few these days.
There's so
There
few.
used to be a thing with like win trading and scripting, but now this just doesn't exist, really, does it?
Which is crazy. Like, we take that for granted. The fact that like, there's no cheat, like, that's like really important. But look, I guess to wrap this up, like, I think that it depends on who you talk to. There are people that just aren't overly competitive and don't want to play competitive. And I've said this many times in the podcast. When League was initially announced and came out, it was a casual game, right? It wasn't meant to be some crazy hardcore competitive game. It had a bit of a rank system. That wasn't really the focus. It was meant to be a bit of a casual game. It evolved and became a hyper competitive game. for the most part, right? People mostly, and sure there are casual people who play normal game games, but for the most part, it is a pretty goddamn competitive game. And I think there's some people that don't like the way League evolved down that ultra competitive route, and they're like, oh, you're a tryhard, you're freezing the wave on your side, you're a tryhard, and it's like, oh, well, that's just the game, man. And those people probably aren't going to like League of Legends, and they're going to probably play a different game. You know what I mean? So you will talk to people that hate that. They just don't like League because it is competitive, and that's where differences come into play.
Yeah. So, yeah, that wraps up that one. Moving on to our next question here from Trevor. The title of this email is, should I change how I queue ranked? Hello, boys, I've broken my concept. I'm curious if I should change how I queue to actual roles. Right now, I'm still fairly new to ranked after playing mostly casual games with higher ranked friends. There's our smurfing thing again. When I started playing League, I quickly became an Aatrox OTP and enjoyed him a lot. Lately, I have not been enjoying playing top lane, as I mainly like playing Lethality Aatrox, and since the removal of mythic items, Lethality Aatrox is just much worse than Bruiser. With that, and just top lane feeling bad, I have started to play more with just top with my experience from playing other lanes and casual with my friends. I first switched to mid from top and played Vex and saw a good amount of success with Vex and got to Bronze 4 fairly easily. Once I hit Bronze, I felt a large amount of games not going the way for me or my teammates, with a lot of the time them blaming being skilled for a role they don't know how to play. We've seen that I just started to queue as a field with my reasoning, being I've played all roles, I'm casual with my friends who are gold platinum players, so I had a decent understanding of those roles and a couple of champions. I knew how to play in the roles. At first I had quite a rough time and dropped ranks pretty fast from Iron 1 to Iron 3-4. After about a week I quickly gained all that rank back and sitting at Iron 1 again. Another thing I really enjoyed about League is learning and playing multiple champions, so queuing still allows me to do that. I have about 2 or 3 champions I played in each role. In top lane, I play Aatrox Shen mainly, but have multiple others I'm comfortable on. In jungle, I play Udyr and Xin Zhao, and sometimes Dyna Wuthor. In mid, I play Vex Dyna. I also recently started playing a little Swain. In ADC, I'll play Sivir Caitlyn. As support, I'll play Pyke Rakan. I don't know if queuing as field is something that I will continue to show results, and it's something I should stop and start queuing actual roles again. So reading this, Curtis, this is like what an IM player looks like. I guess this is the reality. This is it. You know, you're playing a bunch of different things, and this is how you enjoy the game. Like if you're an IM and you're let's say starting this podcast and going down the ranked journey, this is the people you compete with, and they're relatively easy to beat because they have no champ mastery, right? So I'm sort of just talking it for I thought this was good to pick of like, this is what it would sound, an Iron player would sort of sound like people struggling at Iron Bronze. So I guess sort of, is it easy to answer this question? It's like, it depends what you want to get out of the game, how you should change to your ranked. If you want to stay Iron and Bronze and, go down the fill route, go for it. But if you want to get serious, yeah, you should change the way you queue ranks.
I think a big way he's phrased this, he said like, I play, and then he listed 11 champions that he said he knows how to play, right? I think you just don't know how to play those champions, unfortunately, and that's like a tough pill to swallow, but it's pretty much impossible to play that many champions at a competent level.
Especially when you're that new at the game.
100%.
You don't even know the game yet.
I think it's like a fair question to ask, but I think he just needs to raise the standards of what it means to actually be good at a champion. Like, just knowing what its kit does and like knowing how to pilot it at like a reasonable level, that's not really enough to climb the rank ladder. You really need to start specializing a lot more. So, no, Phil won't get good results, but if he enjoys what he does, then yeah, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, I will just say something I've noticed in the wider league community is people still to this day massively disrespect champ mastery because it's hard to mentally reconcile missed opportunities. Right, because that's what Champion Mastery really is, right? Champion Mastery really, if you have Champion Mastery, you're seeing and being able to execute upon more opportunities than if you didn't, right? So in his mind, he's thinking, there is this person in front of my face. I'm able to press my QWER button and kill this person.
I'm doing good. I know how to play.
I know how to play the champ. But in reality, you're missing 1,000 opportunities, before that point. Or many other ways you could have played all these situations.
And even the way you're killing them, you're not killing them as efficiently as possible. You're missing damage.
Exactly right. But those missed opportunities, for some people, it's hard for them to understand. Maybe they've never achieved mastery in another complex skill before. You know, maybe this is their first kind of major hobby that they've really pursued mastery in. So that's just my observation. So I can empathize with that. And League is one of those games where it's like, you just don't know what you don't know. And you need to just have faith and have a deep respect for the game. And it's like, if I was to put, I guess, all my attention on this champion, I'm just gonna trust these guys that there's gonna be a shit ton of learning to be had.
And I'm probably missing a lot.
And I'm
I
probably
need to
missing a lot.
Problem solve that and figure that I'd be critical of my gameplay.
Exactly. So just have a crack. You know, again, echoing what Nathan said, do what you want to do, but you're missing out on it.
All right, next question here comes from Tanoshi. The title of this email is Even 3 games can be sometimes pretty hard. Hi guys, big fan of the podcast. EUS jungler here hovering around Gold 1 platform. Recently I started trying to follow the process that you guys described with the 3 blocks and noticed a problem. There are some days when I come back pretty late in the evening, homework, after gym, whatever. Since I try to still follow the 3 block, I force myself to still play out at least 2 to 3 games. This leads to me making pretty stupid mistakes, autopilot, and miss things that I usually wouldn't. Would you say that it's better to still play out these games even if I would be playing worse? Maybe go on a second account on days like these or even skip. Thanks in advance, Tanoshi.
So what he's saying there is that he has these days where he's just really exhausted and he can't play 3 games.
That's right.
That's right. I mean, you know, something that you need to understand is that you don't need to be playing at 100% intensity to get value from your games. Sometimes just getting in the reps at 75% intensity is more than enough.
And that's also a powerful mindset as well, because people get into this trap where they feel like if they're not fully ready, they can't play ranked, and they're turning ranked into these massive events. We, all 3 of us, have climbed and improved from League by like pissing away thousands of games where we're not playing high intensity. That's just part of it, really. Because you can't expect to be playing at 100% all the time.
And no one is.
No one is.
No one is.
No one ever has done that to get to, rank 1 or whatever.
So it's like